I wanted to make a journal of a visual journal, to make a thing that you guys can watch about somebody else overcoming shit. Alright guys, let's keep it simple. The last 3 years have been cranked up. It's cranked up before then, but it really got cranked up the last 3 years.
We have got to be able to show that we can go after the virus.
What's your estimate for us being able to give someone we just met a hug?
Well, I wouldn't recommend it. Really, to get to the point where this is totally sorted is when we have a treatment or a vaccine.
The ultimate solution is a highly effective, safe vaccine, but there will be a trade-off. We'll have less safety testing than we typically would have, and so governments will have to decide, do they indemnify the companies and really say, let's go out with this?
I'm struggling to see how this is not a direct psychological attack on everybody in this country.
Many years, totalitarian and authoritarian states have used the power of fear to engineer compliance in populations.
You won't be able to travel on air travel unless there are mandatory vaccines. So what we see everywhere is, yet again, the problem is being created. Now they're offering the solution, but what they're doing in the interim is they wish to take away all of our civil liberties as human beings.
They're running it. The Gateses are running the whole vaccine operation. They're running the World Health Organization.
This will be the new normal until a vaccine is developed.
We are at a pivotal point in the history of the human race, literally. Because there will be no human race as we know it if we don't get our arses in gear now, worldwide.
To snitch.
A lot of people are feeling resentment, anger, different ailments. How do we battle this? How do we overcome and adapt? We study the greats from the past. First one we're going to study, or that I want us to make a journal of, or make a note of, is Friedrich Nietzsche and his definitions of the classifications of the 3 different types of men: the higher man, the lower man, and the slave. The lower man and the slave make up the herd and the herd mentality, and their morality shapes a lot of dogmas that are prevalent within a given society. So I found it really interesting, and I thought I'd share some of the thoughts and some of the things that I learned about Nietzsche and how that applied to these new times.
Even resentments, it's really hard to go through life without having some resentment for people.
But what we know is that we will end up with many more unemployed, and particularly also people in the grey economy, which are not counted for, who lose their jobs. So we will see definitively a lot of anger already now, but probably increased by the end of the year, because this crisis will be with us until we really have found a remedy. So we have to prepare for a more angry world.
Some people would say this revolution is characterized by the fight of robots against human beings. And we will win this fight.
So there's 3 different types of mentalities or moralities. Those would be the higher, the lower, and the slave mentalities. Okay, Nietzsche described these as such. We'll start with the lower man, which is kind of the middle. The lower man is the typical mediocre man. He's afraid to venture into the night, to craft himself into something meaningful, to have goals, to have a lifelong purpose. He's tired of life. He's given up on life. He's got no motivation. He takes no risks. He yearns for comfort and security. There's nothing new or healthy in his life. There's no ambition or creativity, no flourishing of new ideas. All his potential for greatness is suppressed. Everything is colorless, and there's no passion or ideal to strive for. not good. The slave, which is the herd, as Nietzsche describes it, would be a conglomeration of the lower man and the slave. Now, the slave is a more pernicious sickness than the last man. The slave is weak, he lacks power, he hates himself. He's guilty about his very own existence. The slave is full of resentment. He hates his life, and his resentment is displayed as hatred towards all higher than himself. He does not seek to transcend and become a higher man. Rather, he seeks to destroy him and make the higher man suffer just as the slave. He wishes to force the higher man into mediocrity and make them develop the same slave morality and mentality. Finally, of the three, the higher man. The higher man consists of those who are creative, courageous, risky, devoid of regret, intense, robust, independent, life-loving, life-affirming, free-spirited. Exemplifies Nietzsche's ideal of the master morality. Unlike the slave, he has no feelings of resentment or envious feelings, as there is no one to project these feelings upon. He does not concern himself with the mediocrity of the herd. He crafts his own power through his own self-mastery. In Beyond Good and Evil, Nietzsche says the concept of greatness entails being noble, wanting to be by oneself, being able to be different, standing alone, and having to live independently. Nietzsche also says that for the last 2,000 years, prevalent morality, aka Christian morality, has inverted life. He says it goes against nature and instinct. It is an anti-nature religion. Very interesting. Let me know what you think. He says, quote, "Could man itself be in decadence? Has it always been? What is certain is that it has been taught only decadence values as supreme values. The intention is to render our potential for greatness and turn us into herd animals, smaller and sicker." He asks, how did this come about in the genealogy of morality? He says that the slaves revolted against the higher man as a result of bottled up resentment, but were unable to herd the higher man, so they created new values instead. These values being weakness, equality, humbleness, fairness. They all became good, while the strong, courageous, creative, independent higher man became evil. Nietzsche postulated the fight was really between good and bad and not good and evil. He believed that evil was a Christian concept that had never existed beforehand. The slave sets out to destroy all those who have unique power and differentness, he says. Overcoming the slave morality is a tremendously daunting task for the herd ruled by the masses. Nietzsche urges us to break our values and create our own, which may not make sense to you, but I will provide this quote. He says, "He who wants to be a creator in good and evil must first be a destroyer and break values. Thus, the greatest evil belongs to the greatest good. This, however, is creative good." The crucial notion of herd morality lies in understanding the psychology of the lower man. The slave or the lower man seeks vengeance on everything greater than him. Due to his own failures, inner guilt, lack of creativity, and inability to flourish. So slave morality is reactive morality. The slave defines himself solely based on the higher man, who he sees as evil. Whereas the higher man feels no need to define himself, for the higher man does not define himself in reaction to someone else. He is simply aware of his own creativity and differentness. Resentment and envy do not reside within him. This goes into my own experience on life and my own battles to overcome adversity, resentment, and the slave and lower man mentalities. All great things start small. Over the course of my young adulthood, I have had both the desire and capability to make content or something visual for people to view. Not necessarily for the masses, but a cool journal of sorts to share my growth and thoughts on life and my growing reality. Hopefully someday to make available for my sons and daughters to look at and see who I was at a young age, and that I also came of age, was a young adult, and grew up once, just like they are now. I am human, just like they are. Learning, battling, overcoming. One of the most cherished parts of my family's house now and growing up was my mother's vast collection of photo albums. In a way, they tell you so much more about your young parents than they could have ever told me themselves. It's like listening to your parents when you're young is difficult, but when you see pictures and photo albums and evidence to some of the words that they say, it puts a lot more backing to what they say. So, now I'm in the same position, and I think this will hold true in the future. Back to Nietzsche. Most profoundly are his thoughts on overcoming herd morality. Before you are able to be a creator of good and evil, you must first be a destroyer and break values. Something to learn there. My motivations aren't solely a personal journey for family. It's a public episode of learning and overcoming and adapting. I think gone are the days of newspapers and magazines that publish guys like Hunter S. Thompson and Mark Twain. So if one has a desire to live as a creator did then, he must utilize the best storytelling tools available now. That happens to be video content. And what does the content represent? Deliberate thought, intention, attempted creativity, a chance to connect with the unknown in unfathomable ways in seconds. But many of you are probably asking yourselves, as I have asked myself, what do I say? Will I be worth listening to? What if I fail again? Should I just quit now? Why would this time be different? How or why would I be different? What if my best attempts are jeered and laughed at, ridiculed as inferior and pathetic by my peers, friends, family, others, strangers? Typical thoughts, but the higher man overcomes this. He is called to it not because of the herd, but because he has a deep desire to work on his own creative endeavors. And if it fails, or is a joke, well, you're back exactly where you started, and the creation can never be totally lost. You will always gain something in knowledge and purpose and skill. Unless, of course, it is censored or deleted, and in that case, perhaps you'll be a martyr. I don't know. Obviously something we have to fight and battle and overcome is censorship on this journey. Living with failure is always preferable than living with regret. I will say this not to say something cliche, but because I have lived it on many occasions. Scared to break values, to admit my intentions for more than the average, and to be the higher man my subconscious is or was screaming for me to be. I will make this journal so that you too can seek to escape the same slave morality and herd mentality. The potential for a higher man lies in the heart and soul of every man, but it is on each man to come to that on his own. How can these videos help? Hopefully setting a higher man mentality while providing evidence of my daily, hourly obsession with discovering my own higher man. Through hard exercise, deep reflections on shortcomings of self and overcoming these things. The higher man works hard, exercises under more adversely stimulating environment consistently over and over and over again. But in order to meet the call, I must be equipped. There is no such thing as overtraining, only underadapted. Never forget that. Break those values, boys. Escape that slave mentality and morality. Keep those pads low, legs moving, and the end zone will come. Equipped for what, you ask? We don't know. When? We don't know. Sometimes we have to perform without a purpose or a direct objective, with only a vision of what may be just a fantasy in your own head and is becoming a reality, but still most can't see. You ask what I mean by hard exercise and hard work? Without specifics is just another last man trope. Hard work means finding the hottest days and places to complete workouts. It is 3 to 7 completely soaked shirts. It is sprinting hard. It is jumping high. It is hitting hard. It is lifting heavy.
Tori, you can get strong lifting light, and you can get in good cardio with Zone 2 cardio. I get it. You're getting lost in the verbiage and the semantics here. Don't lose the point.
Like Teddy Roosevelt, it is hard tasks and 10 toes down. The career will find me. The machine, however, me, or you in this case watching, must be mastered, refined, and cultivated constantly. You must become undeniable, and the payoff will be exponential. Many of you watching, just as myself, are not the fastest, but you're not the slowest. You don't jump the highest yet, but you don't jump the lowest. Still not the greatest at writing, editing, etc. yet. Many of us have failed I myself have failed in many ways. I've been scared to do my own taxes. I've been more skeptical than Mel Gibson in Conspiracy Theory, which is Julia Roberts' best movie, by the way, which is off the point, beside the point. But, I drive a 2001 Buick. And what I'm really saying is that I have failed over and over again. But what's most important is that I am still here. I'm still in the fight, still have a strong mind, a strong body, and I am able to go forward, to overcome, to win. I, just like you, am somewhere between who I was yesterday and who I'm going to be.
I get it. Overboard on the cliche. My bad.
We are all men, but each man is gifted with a mind. And with that mind comes a will. It's hard to tell you what the power of your will can do, because few even know. But nothing beats an indomitable will. And with the right will, you always find a way. It's a new world, guys, but we're all going to make it. At least the ones listening. Let's go, guys. Till next time. Let's go, guys. Till fucking next time. Is that better? Didn't want to end low energy.
At my house in the middle of the night, I'm trying to